Hello people, I am a person. Now unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure all of you know that today we got a brand new poster giving us our first look at what the Super Mario Bros. Movie looks like. And I have to say, this is incredible. Now there are half a dozen analysis and breakdown videos going through all of the hidden details and references into this poster, which I must say are all very impressive and amazing. But I think today, what I'd rather do is a look at the changes in this interpretation of the Mushroom Kingdom, because even though it is very recognizably Mario, it is very, very different than what we're used to. And what I mean by that is you can see... Okay, first off, I'm just going to start with the main man himself. If you zoom in and look at his clothing, you can see the impeccable amount of detail on his clothing. And I know we've seen a lot of detail in the past with like Super Mario Odyssey and just in the last few years, but specifically what I'm talking about, other than the stitching, is things like if you look at his boots, they aren't the typical boots that he wears, they're regular work boots. Like you can see the laces, and you can see his gloves are ever so slightly different with the, I don't know if you want to call it like a ring around the base of the glove that is normally on there, or at least with most cartoon characters, but there's a little seam there in regular work gloves. I love these changes. It makes Mario feel more like his blue-collar roots. And then if we want to go over to Toad Town itself, that's just what I'm going to call it, because that's what this town is generally referred to. You can see the Toads. You can see how their design is slightly changed. I noticed that the first time I looked at the Toads, I could tell that they were different. Not a bad different, it's a very good different, but just different. You can see how, like this little blue guy over here, he's just got this goofy little smile, like he's having a great day. I love it. But if you look at their pants, it looks less like they have their feet stuck onto their butt. They look more like sweatpants or Arabian pants, a lot of people are saying. More like how they looked in Super Mario Bros. 3, which if you were to look up the sprites, you'd see what I'm talking about. And I think that really looks better in my opinion. If we go into the backdrop here, that is the path leading up to Peach's castle, you can see some of the buildings, some of the mushroom houses, I'm assuming. They look less like the regular mushroom houses that we're used to seeing. And like, yes, they're very reminiscent of that, but they look more like what some people are saying. They look more like they're referencing Mario Kart Double Dash. And I think it's just really cool that these look more like houses. Like, they're still very distinctly mushroom houses, but they're more like houses. And I just think it's a really cool thing. And then, of course, if we go to the floating islands, which look amazing. Now, I would venture to say that these are going to be the quote-unquote levels in the movie, because they appear to be like, you know, like their own little thing going on. I'm assuming like Mario and Luigi could jump around them, and you know, like that would be they would be like miniature levels. But they do really remind me of like the miniature dioramas that you would find representing what you're getting into with each level in like Super Mario 3D World. But yeah, if you zoom in, you can see that they've got platforms leading up to the floating islands, which I think is really cool. If you look at the one at the very top left, you can see that there is a Super Mario 64 canon up there, which I think is amazing, how they're just referencing all of these games. I would think that these cannons might be used to travel to the various worlds that you see, aside from just the Mushroom Kingdom. If we go into Toad's backpack here, which many have been speculating that this Toad is going to be Captain Toad by the end of the movie, which I'm very keen on that idea. But if you zoom into the little badges that he's got, you can see that one of them is Peach's castle, another one is actually Toasterina from Super Mario Odyssey, the sticker that you would put on the Odyssey. And the third one, I'm not really sure, but some have said that it's the one for the Cascade Kingdom in Mario Odyssey, which is again really cool. So this Toad actually seems to be more of the traveler explorer type, which would really lean into him becoming Captain Toad. And I just really like that idea, that the quote-unquote main Toad that is going to be the main, the focus of all the Toads is going to be its own character. I just really love the idea. And then of course, if we go in the back, we can see all of the shops, which I just think is, again, really cool that they're making this town feel more like a town rather than a bunch of houses stitched together, more like a village surrounding the castle, if you know what I mean, like in some of the other games. Oh, another change that I wanted to add about the backdrop is just how many pipes there are, and like they're not just sticking up out of the ground, like these pipes are covering the platforms like almost like they're roots, and I just love how this looks. It looks incredible. It just makes it feel so vibrant and alive. And if we even zoom into the backdrop here, we can see that there are a bunch of donut blocks and like Toads jumping from block to block, like falling up, and it's so awesome. And then if we come down here, closer to the bottom somewhere, yeah, over here, we've got a Toad punching a question block. And he's also leaning very hard to the right, which I think is really funny because he has to do that so that his head doesn't hit the block, so he doesn't hit his head on the block. I just thought that was really funny. But also really cool how this doesn't just feel like a video game setting. This feels like a real world that is lived in. And I am eating up every part of it. I'm sorry, this looks amazing. And I would venture to say that if this poster is anything to go off of for the movie, I would say that they knocked it out of the park. Illumination, congratulations, you were on the way to becoming my favorite animation studio. Anyways, that's all today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember that God made you special and he loves you very much. Bye-bye!